The real reason bulls hate matadors, it's not the color red. There's a lie you've been told for years. That moment in the arena when the massive bull furiously attacks the red cape in the matador's hand, you were told the reason was the color red. That red is the color of anger, passion, danger. But what if I told you it's all a deception? By the end of this video, when you learn the secret buried beneath the sands of the arena, a secret no one talks about, you will never look at a bullfight the same way again. This won't just debunk a myth. It will be a moment of enlightenment, allowing you to enter the mind of a creature and see the world through its eyes. You don't want to miss that, do you? The Great Red Lie, cracking the arena's codes. Our first piece of evidence to pull back the curtain on this great myth comes from one of popular culture's most reliable mythbusters, the Mythbusters team. They asked the question, do bulls really attack the color red? And their answer shook everything we thought we knew to its core. Their experiments were simple but extremely effective. First, they placed 3 stationary flags of different colors in the arena: red, blue, and white. What do you think happened when the bull was released into the arena? It ignored all of them. As long as the flags stood still, they meant nothing to the bull. This broke the first link between color and aggression. In the second test, they took things a step further. They placed 3 mannequins dressed in red, blue, and white in the arena. This time, the bull attacked, but without discrimination. It charged all 3 mannequins fiercely, even attacking the red one last. This showed that what mattered to the bull was not the color, but the presence of a thing in front of it. And then came the final, ultimate test. They put a person dressed head to toe in red in the arena and asked them to stand completely still. At the same time, 2 professional cowboys in regular colored clothes started moving around constantly. What was the result? The bull completely ignored the person in red who was standing still. It directed all its anger and attacks towards the constantly moving cowboys. These experiments demonstrated with scientific certainty that what triggers the bull is not color, but movement. However, this answer brings with it a much deeper and darker question. If the problem isn't the color red, why did we all believe it was? And more importantly, is the movement of that cape alone enough to send a half-ton animal into such a rage? This is where the real secret begins, because what you haven't been told is that by the time that red cape appears on the scene, the bull is already struggling with entirely different pains. The world through a bull's eyes, the science of sight. To fully understand the bull's reaction, we must first see the world through its eyes. This is not the world full of vibrant colors that we know. It's a different mode of perception, shaped by different tones and other priorities. Humans are trichromatic. That is, our retinas have 3 different types of cone cells, those sensitive to red, green, and blue. Through combinations of these 3 primary colors, we can perceive millions of different shades. However, cattle, like most mammals, are dichromatic. Their retinas have only 2 types of cone cells, one sensitive to short wavelengths, blue, peaking at about 451 to 455 nanometers, and one to medium to long wavelengths, greenish-yellow, peaking at about 554 to 555 nanometers. What does this biological reality mean? Cattle do not have the specific cone receptors to perceive long wavelength red light. This creates a vision similar to red-green color blindness, protanopia, in humans. Imagine this. You're looking at a stunning bright red Ferrari. Now see that Ferrari through a bull's eyes. That vibrant red turns into a dull yellowish-gray color. A field full of red poppies becomes a jumble of brown and yellow tones, indistinguishable from the green grass. The matador's famous red muleta, cape, is not a color that provokes anger in the bull. On the contrary, it's likely a dull brown or gray tone, not easily distinguished from the sandy floor of the arena. But that cape has one feature that is more important than anything else in the bull's world: its movement and the contrast it creates. Human and bovine vision, a comparative analysis. To understand this difference more clearly, let's compare the visual abilities of the two species. The language of threat, a mastery of manipulation. Now that we know how the bull sees the world, it's time to understand how it thinks. The matador's movements in the arena are not a random provocation. They are a calculated exploitation of instinct based on the principles of animal behavior science, ethology. As prey animals, cattle have a fundamental fight-or-flight mechanism coded into their brains, which activates in moments of danger. When faced with a predator in the wild, its first instinct is to flee. But the arena is a trap. It's a foreign, noisy, enclosed space with no escape route. This situation systematically eliminates the flight option, leaving only one choice: fight. This is where the work of Dr. Temple Grandin, a genius in animal behavior, comes into play. Grandin identified two fundamental principles that guide cattle behavior. Flight zone. This is an animal's personal space. When a perceived threat enters this zone, the animal begins to move away. The matador constantly violates this zone. Point of balance. This is an imaginary line, usually at the animal's shoulder. To make the animal move forward, you must get behind this point. To make it move backward, you must get in front of it. The slow, aesthetic, and flowing movements the matador makes with the cape are not just for the audience. These movements are a scientific technique designed to manipulate the bull's perception of threat. The waving cape is perceived by the bull as a large, unpredictable, and approaching threat. The matador draws all the bull's attention with the cape, then enters its flight zone from behind the point of balance, forcing the animal to attack the only perceived threat: the moving fabric. In essence, the matador is like a behavioral hacker who hacks the bull's instinctual programming. He doesn't anger it. He controls it like a puppet by exploiting the most basic survival codes in its brain. The anatomy of the arena, a scene of agony. But the most important and darkest piece of the puzzle is still missing. I must tell you this clearly. The bull that faces the matador's red cape is not the same strong, healthy animal that first entered the arena. It is a creature that has been systematically tortured, weakened, and brought to the brink of collapse. A traditional bullfight, corrida, consists of 3 bloody stages called tercios. Tercio de varas, the lancing stage. Picadors on horseback enter the arena. Their job is to drive long lances called varas into the massive muscle mound on the bull's neck, known as the murillo. The purpose is twofold. First, to tear the muscles and tendons, preventing the bull from fully lifting its head. Second, to cause significant blood loss, up to 18% of the animal's total blood volume, thereby weakening it. This is a calculated crippling that turns the bull into a less dangerous and more predictable target for the final act. Tercio de banderillas, the hooking stage. In this stage, banderilleros stab barbed, colorful sticks called banderillas into the bull's already wounded back and shoulders. These barbs are designed to hang in the animal's flesh. Every time the bull moves, these hooks twist inside the wounds, causing unbearable pain, increasing muscle damage, and intensifying the bleeding. By the time these 2 stages are complete, when the matador takes that famous red cape in hand, the bull has already been in a nightmare for hours. Practices such as being kept in a dark cell for hours without food or water, having petroleum jelly rubbed into its eyes to blur its vision, and being hit on the kidneys with sandbags before the fight have also been documented. Veterinary reports show that during this process, the bull's body undergoes a series of physiological collapses. The onset of hypovolemic shock from excessive blood loss, lactic acid buildup in the muscles, metabolic acidosis, and a massive increase in stress hormones like cortisol. So, that angry aggression in the arena is actually a sign of pain and agony. What we are seeing is not a naturally aggressive monster, but a cornered, mortally wounded victim making a final defense in the face of pain that pushes the limits of sanity. The real reason for red. A story of blood and showmanship. If the red color isn't for the bull, then who is it for? The answer is simple. For you. That red cape is designed not for the perception of a dichromatic bull, but for that of a trichromatic human. There are two basic and practical reasons for this. The art of concealment. The most obvious reason is that red hides the stain of blood. During the final and bloodiest stage of the fight, the tercio de muerte, the stage of death, the cape becomes covered in the bull's blood. The red color conceals this blood from the audience's eyes, making the show appear more artistic and less brutal. Visual theater. Red is a powerful color in human psychology. It is associated with passion, danger, excitement, and blood. A bright red cape waving against the pale sand of the arena and the bull's typically dark hide creates a dramatic and high-contrast visual spectacle for the human eye. This is a choice based entirely on stagecraft, not animal biology. This tradition began in the 18th century with Francisco Romero, one of the pioneers of modern bullfighting, and has become an integral part of the show. The red cape and the matador's traje de luces, suit of lights, are the aesthetic packaging for this bloody ritual. In fact, the red cape is the central tool in a collective self-deception. By believing that the bull is angered by the color red, the audience shifts the responsibility for its death onto the animal. The thought, it attacked because it was angry at the red, morally distances the matador and the audience from the responsibility of systematic torture. This myth is a psychological shield that turns brutality into an honorable duel. A new perspective beyond the myth. We started with a simple question about color, but what we found was so much more. We learned that the bull lives in a world of dull yellows and blues, and that red means nothing to it. We saw that the matador is not a daring hero, but a cold-blooded behavioral scientist who exploits an animal's deepest fears. And most importantly, we understood that the bull's final, desperate attacks are not born from anger at a piece of red cloth, but from the indescribable pain of the cold steel that has already torn its body apart. The real reason bulls hate matadors is not a color they cannot see, but the pain, fear, and betrayal inflicted upon them. When there is no escape, the bull, driven by its survival instinct, attacks the nearest, most threatening, and moving object. And that object is the cape in the hand of the matador, the orchestrator of all this suffering. Now you know the truth behind the red cape. It changes everything, doesn't it? The myth is shattered, but the reality is far more complex and disturbing. With what you know now, what does the art of bullfighting mean to you? Let's talk about it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts because this is a conversation we all need to have. If this video opened your eyes, just imagine what else we can uncover together. Subscribe to my channel because our journey to the truth is just beginning.